It's really an absolute delight and honor and pleasure, and I'm just so grateful to Rabbi Justin Held for being here with us today. He's going to share words of Torah with us today.
Shana Tova. It's so great to see so many familiar faces, and even greater to see faces I haven't seen. Honored to be standing here today. Sarah Lynn is ready with the tissues. All right. It's going to be a tough one. One of the qualities my wife, Sarah, is going to be a tough one. One of the qualities my wife, Sarah, is most known for is her laugh. It's loud, gregarious, and completely unique. She's not the easiest person to make laugh, but when you do, when that unmistakable laugh bursts out of her, you know you've truly made it. Her laugh reminds me that the same story, the same words can land differently depending on where we are in life. A joke is not always funny until suddenly it is. A moment does not bring joy until suddenly it does. And in the same way, Rabbi Andy Gordon teaches, the words of the Torah have not changed in millennia, but we have changed. Our perspective is different since last year. Our lived experience changes, as does our outlook, our understanding, and our connection to the text. This Rosh Hashanah, my connection to the text is drawn from my Sarah's endearing laugh, and the biblical Sarah's laugh when she is told she will conceive, and naming Isaac Yitzchak, to which she remarks, God has brought me laughter. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. For most of my life, whenever I studied the story of Yitzchak's birth and near sacrifice, I read it through Abraham's eyes, or sometimes Isaac's. As Rabbi Tamar said, what was Abraham and what was Isaac thinking when Abraham took him up to the mountain? What was going through Abraham's mind when he learned his wife would finally conceive? How did he respond to Sarah's urging to send away Hagar and Ishmael? What was the relationship like between Yitzchak and Ishmael? Last year, as I heard the blast of the shofar, I heard it as Sarah's cry at the near sacrifice of her son. And this year, as my Sarah and I have walked through the journey of infertility and IVF, I find myself again reading it through the eyes of Sarah Imanu, Sarah, our matriarch. Her longing, her waiting, her complexity, and her pain feel deeply personal. And the Rosh Hashanah text lands with an intimacy I've never felt before. Almost 9 months ago, we were overjoyed with our first positive pregnancy test. And for weeks, we marveled as Sarah's body changed, as our basement filled with cans of ginger ale and hearts of palm. We laughed together at the small surprises and the adjustments, at the absurdity and the beauty of the process, holding on to that joy even amidst the uncertainty. And we started contingency plans for what would happen if she gave birth during the high holidays. And then just a few weeks later, I got home from work on a Friday afternoon, and she felt something was wrong. I dismissed any possibility of a serious issue and tried to soothe her and told her everything would be okay. I came here the next morning for a normal Saturday morning of limudim and services, and by the time I got home, it was over. The unimaginable became our reality. And for the past 6 months, as we have navigated forward, we've joined a community I never considered would be possible. A community of those who have yearned for the most precious gift, yet are unable to control that reality. A community who instinctively knows to simply respond, I'm sorry, and both delicately and generously inquire on how things are going and still know the right and wrong things to say. Over these months, as we have given so much time and money and Sarah's body to achieving our dream of being parents, it has been horrifying and surreal to see other families suffer the unimaginable loss of the children that they have had. As we say during this period, mi bekitzo umi lo bekitzo, who will live out the fullness of their days and who will be taken before their time. We've seen so many children taken us before their time, like Ariel and Kfir Bibas, Noah and Yahel Sharabi, their father Eli, a Hamas hostage for 491 days, not knowing of his daughter's deaths until he was rescued. The 12 Jewish children and teens who were killed while playing soccer in Majd al-Shams. Throughout this terrible war, we've seen the heartbreaking deaths of innocent children in Gaza, victims of Hamas's cruel tactics and a cycle of violence that Israel has been caught in too many times. We are horrified by the recent murders of 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. I learned of the shooting as Sarah was under anesthesia for her second egg retrieval. And when she came home and was resting, I went to work for my second day of school at our Jewish K-8 religious school, surrounded by 179 incredible students. We come to Rosh Hashanah carrying so much: our joys, our fears, our gratitude, our longing for something better. The shofar's call pierces through it all, demanding that we not only look inward, but also outward at the world we are building together. The Talmud says of the ram in the thicket at the binding of Isaac, that after the angel tells Abraham not to sacrifice Isaac, Abraham lifts his eyes, sees the ram caught, and sacrifices the ram instead. And our sages teach that this ram had been there from the moment of creation. In other words, there was never another way. It was always waiting, always present. The ram's horn, the tru'ah, the broken cry at the heart of this day, is meant to jar us and shake us awake, to look around and see that there is always a ram in the thicket. On this Yom Tru'ah, how can we not be startled by the cries of our children? I first heard this teaching from Chaviv Redigur, who adds there's an alternate path. The new year is a fork in the road, always and forever. The question for us becomes, how can 5786 be the year our leaders finally choose that alternate path? That is the challenge of our season, to believe no matter how dire things may seem, there is always a way forward. The shofar reminds us to lift our eyes and notice the possibilities we have not seen before, and to demand the courage from ourselves and from our leaders to take the different road that is there. Among the cries that echo most painfully is that of Rachel Goldberg-Polin, a mother who lost her child and who, as I shared last year, gives voice to the shofar's broken sound in my eyes. In a recent podcast interview preparing listeners for the Yamim Noraim, she invokes the story of Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah that one should repent the day before they die, to which his students dutifully ask how one should know the day which they will die. And he responds, one should repent today, lest they die tomorrow. Rachel goes on to share about how a traumatic death in her grandfather's life caused him to obsessively have a meaningful goodbye with his children whenever he would leave them. As we enter 5786, not knowing mi hieh mi yamut, who will live and who will die, we can learn from Rabbi Eliezer, Rachel's grandfather, and Rachel and John Goldberg. During these Aser Yemei Tshuva, we can take the opportunity to say what needs to be said to those we love, to offer blessing, and have more meaningful goodbyes. Rachel tells the story that on October 6th, the Friday before Hirsch left with Honor Shapira to go to the Nova Festival, John and I blessed him during Shabbat before dinner, and he kissed us goodbye. He spoke to us before he left. This is a tremendous comfort to me, she says. We should all have those opportunities. Obviously, I had no idea this would be my last goodbye, but I have tremendous comfort knowing that I had one. Rachel teaches that it's clear we are in a moment of crisis in the Jewish story, in history, in Israel's story, and in our own personal lives. And the real question is, what do we do while we are in crisis? The Hebrew word for crisis is mashber, and in the Torah, mashber refers to the pains of childbirth. In the moment of physical crisis, when it feels you cannot bear anymore, when you feel you are breaking out, that is often the labor pain, and just beyond it lies rebirth and light and a new life. And our task, as Rachel teaches, is to move toward that light, because there is no other option. It was so striking to me that following Rachel's period of mashber, as she shares words of Torah and hope, I hear her words as Sarah and I yearn for her to feel the mashber of birthing pains. Today, our Torah reading follows the miraculous birth of Isaac, the banishment of Hagar and Ishmael, and we engage with the binding of Isaac. The story concludes in Genesis 22, and the very next verse that comes after we pick up next, Vayhi chaye Sarah mea shana v'esrim, shana v'sheva shanim, shnei chaye Sarah. Sarah's lifetime, the span of Sarah's life, came to 127 years. While in our story, the son survives his ordeal and his mother dies, in Rachel Goldberg-Poland's reality, it was the opposite. She closes the podcast interview reflecting on prayer, saying fundamentally what prayer is simply putting out thoughts into the universe in words. And those words can be help, please, love. We are in a transformative moment, and I'm praying for us so much that this is a transformative and meaningful Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that we merit, please, dear God, the return of our beloved hostages, every single one of us who's fighting for this to happen, that everyone comes home safely and in peace. That we're all inscribed in the book of hope, the book of life, the book of miracles, and the book of freedom, that we should have a Shana Shel Tikva. We stand here together following the reflective period of Elul on Rosh Hashanah and in the Aseret Yemei Tshuva. Some of us stand here reading the Torah through the eyes of Abraham. What is God saying to me? What are the conflicts I am navigating, and what do I need to do to listen? Some of us hear the words of the Torah through the eyes of Yitzchak, confused of where those in power are taking us, and looking for the ram caught by its horns in the thicket to get us out of this mess. And others of us are reading through the eyes of the servants, not even on the mountain, patiently waiting for this moment to end. And others of you join me, hearing the words through the eyes of Sarah, aching to bring life into the world, struggling how to best care for those we love, yearning they will come home safely. Our Torah reading ends just before Sarah's life comes to a close, and if we didn't read ahead, we would not know her death is what comes next. As we step into 5786, let us carry with us the voices of these three remarkable women ringing in our ears. May we listen for the echoes of my Sarah's laughter. May we worry, care for, and love deeply in our lives like Sarah, our matriarch. And like Rachel Goldberg-Poland, may we yearn to be inscribed in the book of life, the book of miracles, the book of freedom. In 5786, may we all have a year of hope, a year where our hostages come home, a year where the prophets ring true, that nation shall not lift up sword against nation. May we have a year of hope for the epidemic of gun violence to no longer claim innocent young children. May we have a year of hope that those yearning for their families to become whole will. May we have a year filled with laughter. May that laughter remind us life and joy and the miracles we hope for in the year ahead. May we all have a Shana Shel Tikva, a year of hope. Shana Tova.